Whoa, Ragnarok.
こりゃウェセックスが当たりだったな。
ちげえね。まったく。
Ominous. Yep. Gigantic son of a bitch. They put Canute in charge.
今は耐えるのだ。そこで主は彼に言われたのです。あなたの剣を収めなさい。剣を取る者は皆剣で滅びるのです。命令が何だってんだ。腰抜け王子が。黙ってられるか。おうやろう。冬になれば撤退命令がなされるはず。それまでのご辛抱です。
I don't know about that. Canute, I'm sure he's thinking of something.
神よ、どうか殿下をお守りください。
Kami.
何？王子来てる。あれ、言ってなかったか？確か第二王子のクヌート殿下。
Oh boy. Thorkell just had an idea. The light bulb just kind of goes off there, doesn't it? Oh, it's kind of like episode 1. Look at this. Flashback? Wow. Whoa. Okay, maybe this isn't a flashback.
母上がいる。姉上も。
Oh, it's a dream. Interesting that he's dreaming of this, right?
そうだ、晩ご飯だ。父上を呼びに行かなくちゃ。僕はここ好き。ここに来てから母上も調子いいみたいだし。
Ah, interesting.
トルフィン。
何？
お前は長男だ。母上や姉上を守ってやらなきゃダメだぞ。わかるな？二人ともお前の帰りを待ちわびている。そんな人がいてくれるのはとても幸せなことなんだ。
Reminiscent of the episode 1 opening.
わかるか？
This is interesting. That's going there now.
だからな。もう復讐なんてやめろ。そんなこと俺が喜ぶと思うのか。
Wow. Oh boy. This is quite the dream he's having. That guy right there. Wow.
俺の国じゃなかったな。暖かくて草原が波打ってどこまでも。
Oh, look at that. Yeah. Oh, look at this. And look at that. Jeez. Look at that. There's a reason for it, I'm sure. It's the dude.
どっちが死んでも後でちゃんとアシュラッドに報告しとけよ。めんどくせえ。
Speaking of Askeladd. Yeah, Thorfin's trying to get away. But yeah, the columns. Come on, man.
豊かな土地だ。
Vinland.
夢に出てきた土地に似てる。アイスランドとはえらい違いだ。
早起きだな、トルフィン。
Okay, so he's up here, huh?
まだ日も昇ってねえぜ。
Oh? A broken column right behind him?
あいつらが騒がしくて眠れないか。まあ、勘弁してやれや。ここんとこ行軍ばかりであいつらもイラついてたからな。
Sure that coin holds some significance to him.
気安く話しかけんな。俺はてめえらの仲間じゃねえ。てめえは俺をうまいこと操ってるつもりだろ。今はそうやってうぬぼれてろ。俺に喉を裂かれてくたばるその日までな。
Look in his face, though.
ま、時間は若いお前の味方だ。お前は成長し、俺は老いる。いつかお前に負ける日も来るだろう。当然のことだ。どんな強者のいずれは死ぬ。
Time defeats all.
この石これは今のイングランドの住人。
Oh,
サクソン人が
yeah.
作ったものじゃない。サクソンよりも前の住人のものだ。強い民族だったそうだ。
Yeah. Here you go, here you
だが
go.
500年前サクソンに滅ぼされた。ローマ人だ。
The Romans. There you
国の
go.
名はブリタニア。高度な文明だった。今よりもずっとな。
Arturios, right?
何が言いて。
年寄りの話は聞くもんだぜ。まあつまりだな。人間の世界は緩やかにだが確実に老いてきてるってことさ。ローマ人をサクソンが滅ぼし、そのサクソンを今度は俺たちが滅ぼす。
Yep. It's a cycle,
かつて
right?
のローマ帝国の栄光は遠い過去になる。見ろトルフィン、滑稽じゃねえか。黄昏の時代の夜明けだ。奴らトルケルを先頭に砦から撃ち出てきたんだ。
Ooh, look at this animation, though, man.
どいつもこいつも熊みたいに強かった。
Almost kind of like Sauron, you know, cutting through.
本体まで一直線だ。トルケルメがそこまですぐにここ。
Oh, he's gonna take him, isn't he?
王子様みっけ。クヌート殿下はどうなった。奴らの虜だ。トルケル軍と共にいらっしゃる。
Let's see how Askeladd. Oh, he's looking.
どうする。
Yeah.
決めるのはあんただ。アシュラッド。
Askeladd.
まったくおちおち黄昏れてもいられねえな。はあ、聞こえねえかビョルン。ラグナロクの足音がよ。えいいか野郎ども、よく聞け。我々は今からクヌート王子殿下の救出に向かう。
Okay.
相手はトルケル以下500。だが他の部隊の手は借りん。ここが博打の打ちどころだ。クヌート殿下はデンマーク王位継承権第2
So
位
if
の
you save him,
どちらの軍に渡しても報酬はたんまりだ。みすみす他の奴らに譲る手はねえぜ。
that should get them going.
よしやろう。俺たちの手柄だ。
Though I don't think it's as simple as that, though, is it, right?
相手はトルケルだぞ。賞賛あんのか？
さあな。
さあなって、お前。
黄昏の時代だぜ、ビオル。どうせならバーッと暴れてみようじゃねえか。
Look at that. Whoa, okay, folks, this is a major turning point, isn't it? It certainly felt like that. Askeladd's decision to behead that messenger, essentially. That is a major decision. It is, it really is. And it felt a bit out of character for Askeladd, right? But the fact that it is a bit out of character for Askeladd to do that, right? Given the odds of the situation he's taking himself and his men into, yeah, that means this is a turning point, right? The tone or, the feeling has kind of changed after that. He has put something into motion now that could actually, end up taking him and his men towards or closer to death. And the thing is, he recognizes that, right? He accepts it. And of course, this introspection was one of the major aspects of this episode. Askeladd's introspection, that is. Though, of course, there's a bit of that on Thorfin's side as well. Again, I'll get into that in a bit, but yeah, this is, the mood has completely changed after that beheading. And the direction and the trajectory of this story and Askeladd and his men. There's a fantastic moment. I mean, this episode is full of fantastic moments. Again, this is one of the standout episodes of the series. I feel like I've been saying that a lot in these recent episodes. But, actually, before I go any further, this episode, like I mentioned, a lot of introspection, and I found myself really just kind of sitting here and taking a lot of it in. There wasn't much reacting going on. I felt like I was kind of really just quiet for long portions of that episode, and just taking it in. And there's that fantastic moment near the conclusion, as Askeladd said, right? I'll be damned. I guess there's no point of fading into the sunset, right? To me, that sounded like he's been presented with quite an interesting opportunity here, right? I'll be damned. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but just that exchange, and then him kind of going on to beheading the messenger, and then asking his men to bury him and the horse. To me, it felt like this is a game-changing moment for Askeladd, right? And again, the things he's saying here make it sound like, okay, maybe this is the type of opening he simply had to take, or a gamble he simply had to take. And he's not, like I mentioned, he's not really a gambler, is he? Right? So in that sense, out of character, but he's cognizant of that choice he's making. Because from the looks of things, or from the sounds of things, if this gamble pays off, it gets him to his big goal, right? Or it helps him accomplish this big goal that I still don't really know about. I mean, I think it's clear at this point, and, I've seen enough of Askeladd to know that his goals and motivations are not as simple as just riches. That portion of it, you see that he really gets the men going, and he knows that that is important to his men. So, he had to kind of focus on that aspect as well to really get his men going, as Bjorn noticed, oh, okay, now you've really got them riled up. I hope you have a plan for this. So he knew he needed motivation here for his men, so they follow him into this, right? As it is a big gamble, right? Going after Prince Canute and Thorkell and his men just by themselves, right? So he needed them on his side, right? So he got them. He got them riled up. The notion or the idea of unimaginable riches if they were to, have Prince Canute and return Prince Canute. Yeah, that really got the men going. And you see, you see through Bjorn's conversation, right, with the other guy. He's one of the more prominent figures of Askeladd's group. Yet I don't know his name yet. I can't remember if they've said his name, but unfortunately I can't remember his name. He's one of the two twins, right? In that conversation, they made it clear that it's getting to that point that the war might end, right? And these mercenary Vikings might not have much to look forward to after that. For some of them, it's better if it continues, right? They want war to continue. To them, this is how they make a living, right? War. So, they don't want it to end. Yet you see Bjorn is speaking of the potential of it ending soon, and, a lot of these men not having much to do after that. Just like there's this internal conflict within Thorfin, right? You see through that dream sequence, the subconscious desire that's come up a few times now, him having to tackle or come to terms with the idea of, life without this goal of his, this, this trajectory he's on, this path he's chosen all that time ago. Yeah, it's a difficult one for him to tackle, right? Or comprehend. You see that even in the dream sequence, and once again, it's a phenomenal scene, the dream sequence. And, of course, one half of it is just this serene, peaceful life that, he's dreamt of, and his father kind of, dreamt of as well. All his loved ones are there. There's no war. His friends are there. Then, of course, it takes a dark turn. And again, it kind of mimics his trajectory in real life as well, right? His world is kind of ripped apart by, the darkness, or it's shrouded in darkness and death. And, that execution, his father's execution is something that torments him. It's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. But like I mentioned during the episode, it's really interesting that his mind is going there, that he's dreaming of this. That's his memory of his father in his own dream, right? So he's remembering, even though it was a long time ago, he's remembering how his father was. And even now in his dream, right, he's cognizant that his father, this is how he would have reacted to the path he's taken or the path he's on, right? You see that even in his dream, he doesn't really have a response, or he's kind of stumped as his father asked him, you think revenge is the thing I wanted? You see as time passes on, it's becoming clear that Thorfin has less and less of a reason to, stay on with Askeladd and his men. He has less of a reason to, be on this path of vengeance, right? But of course, there's a lot of growth that needs to happen here, right? As of this point, the focus is on characters like Askeladd. I think, there's a long journey ahead, and, of course, I've said that a billion times at this point. But yeah, there's, Thorfin is not there just yet, right? It's going to take some time. A lot of these things, he's not able to face the idea of having to, walk away from this path he's chosen, right? This is the driving force. This has been his driving force for these last few years, right? Over a decade at this point, right? So the notion of having to, walk away from this is a tough one for him, right, to comprehend. Just like the men, right? If there's no more war, how do they go about making a living? That's their identity, essentially. How do they continue from that point on? And, again, that kind of goes back to that notion of every era has its time, and then, it moves on, it changes. But, let me circle back to Askeladd, because, again, there's a lot of fascinating introspection here. And again, he continues to be such a fantastic character. Right now, one of my favorites in all of anime, or the anime I've watched so far. Yeah, and this is still really early days, episode 10. Though it feels good to be 10 episodes in, yeah, there's still quite a bit to get through here. And that excites me. That excites me that I get to see more of Askeladd and his, story arc. And there's another fantastic line of dialogue or quote to add to the Book of Askeladd. Dawn in the age of twilight of men, right? Something along those lines, right? Dawn in the age of twilight. How about that? How about that? And, he brings up the ideas or the concepts of the Day of Judgment, be it in, Christian beliefs or, also there's a mention of Ragnarok through Thorfin, right? He brings those up, but, those are not his beliefs, right? Those are brought up as ideas. Yet, he understands he understands his own twilight, essentially, right? He explicitly mentions that he's getting older now. And, 2 episodes ago, during that duel, I had a distinct feeling of perhaps, the past is starting to catch up to him. He even mentions to Thorfin, yeah, sooner or later, you are going to beat me, right? All of these things, he accepts all of these things, right? He understands them. Yet, he makes this decision right at the end. He takes this opportunity, right? So there's something much larger going on here as well, right? There's stuff that's missing here I don't know about yet. And, it kind of goes back to a few episodes ago. A lot of really interesting things came out of that episode. It was the one that had the duel, right? And Thorfin on the longship in Hordaland, and then the introduction of Prince Canute. In that episode, it was clear that there's so much more to Askeladd. There's so much I don't know yet, right? Even here, there's a quick flash of someone that was clearly important to him, maybe a loved one, a wife, perhaps someone, a quick flash right before his eyes. As he mentioned, the steps of Ragnarok, can't you hear them? And he's saying this to Bjorn, right? So, he understands that the path he's on now, and the men as well now, this has taken him into some really risky territory. But, the risk is worth it. This opportunity he's taken here is worth it. So let's see, what else comes out of this, the motives, because there is certainly something else there that I don't know yet, right? And you see that in this episode, I finally get to hear about, this Roman Empire, right? That he clearly has a lot of respect for and attachment to. He's mentioned his ancestor Arturios before. Now, I know there's a lot of historical figures in this, but that one I'm not sure of. Like, I don't know of Arturios, so I'm not able to really go look that up because, again, there's a danger of spoilers. So I'm not gonna look that one up. I happen to know about King Canute, but I don't know if Arturios is an actual historical figure, right? Or it's a character for this story, but regardless, I can't look that up, right? I'm sure, as the story progresses, I'll find out soon enough. But, he's kind of, you can see how it could be frustrating for someone like Askeladd who has knowledge, or he's knowledgeable about, the Roman Empire and how advanced it used to be, and having to live now in this time, right? Almost kind of like a man out of time in that sense. Of course, he also understands that it was a relic of the past, and he understands that there is a cycle that even the strongest have to, go out at some point, right? Again, kind of doubles back to Thor's being taken down, and then, him understanding that, yes, one day he is going to get taken down. And then, of course, it applies on a grander scale to empires, right? And that cycle that, war never changes. And of course, let me talk about some of the phenomenal backgrounds and imagery in this episode as well. There's some standout moments as, one of them is Askeladd kind of touching one of the columns and you see the reflection in the water. I thought that was such a poignant moment. And I really liked how a lot of these columns are kind of, framed in these shots. You'll see them in the background of a lot of these things that are going on, a relic of the past, but it is there, it's looming. And it kind of goes back to another comment Askeladd made, about being bound by pride and honor, right? And again, I remember mentioning that, perhaps even Askeladd himself, or that could apply to Askeladd himself, right? I feel like, yeah, it does apply to Askeladd. There's so much going on here, and, it'll be great to, get more insight on his motivations as this plays out. He's set something in motion now, and yeah, there's only one path now. Again, the mood totally changed as he decapitated that messenger. And of course, some of Thorfin's impatience is on display once again. And there's also a lesson for Thorfin, in this conversation, this fantastic conversation scene that happens up on top of that hill, surrounded by the relics of the past, the columns of the Roman Empire. At first he fires back at Askeladd because he doesn't like the tone. He doesn't like that, Askeladd is kind of speaking with him in a manner that kind of makes them seem like friends or, partners or on friendly terms, right? I'm not one of you. He firmly believes that he's not one of them, though, yeah, here he is, right? He's followed them for years for his own reasons, yet, he's had to kind of, turn a blind eye to a lot of the things that these men do, and Askeladd himself does, right? Just to stay on his path, the path he has chosen, right? There's a lot of things, right? You see, he's sleeping in that barn. There's a dead man there. You see there's two dead bodies of a couple, right? He just walks past. And you see, they've made it clear that he had to kind of suppress or throw away his empathy. And you see in that scene in episode 6, right? As he takes a deep breath, kind of lets it out and kind of falls back in line. So, that in itself has been established for some time now. But yeah, right? In the pursuit of this revenge or vengeance for his late father, he's accepted a lot of things. But then, later he does start to listen a bit to some of the things Askeladd has to say. And, I feel like one of the lessons here is that, don't be so impulsive, be patient, You know, don't be so quick to act, right? Think before you act. So yeah, you know, there's that, you know, even though it might be a bit strange, there is that notion of this being a father figure and that him having a lot of things to impart on to Thorfin or to teach Thorfin, right? And, you know, again, that was clear really long ago that, yeah, this, you know, spending this much time with this individual, following this individual and his men, he is going to pick up a lot of things and learn a lot of things, different things from his own father's teachings, but, you know, maybe perhaps just as important. And of course, that dream, the implication there being that he understands that, you know, that there's loved ones that need him, right? That he should be going back home. And that it's a good thing that there's people out there for you, right? That depend on you or you can depend on. So he understands this. You know, that's the really interesting thing here. These reoccurring dreams, and you know, especially after the conclusion of the last episode, right? Him being in, you know, him in line with the rest of the men who are excited about war and, you know, killing and battle, right? And the riches that come from it. And, you know, he thinks it's just, you know, they're madmen for, you know, finding this exciting, right? So yeah, you know, he understands, you know, even if it's subconsciously, he understands all these things. He's kind of suppressed all of that, right? Because there is a bit of stubbornness there. I mean, not a bit, there is stubbornness there. You know, this is the path he chose, and like, he's not able to face the idea of his life being anything else other than that at this moment in time. You know, at this point, it's becoming clear to me that, say, even if he does end up killing Askeladd down the line, though of course, he might not even get a chance to do that because Askeladd has set something in motion that could potentially lead to his death. But it was important enough to, you know, take this gamble or make this decision. And I'm speaking of Askeladd, you know, making the choice to do this. But yeah, I feel like even if he was to kill Askeladd, you know, he's going to struggle after that. Right? He's going to struggle and he's going to realize, okay, you know, I spent all those years of my life on this path, you know, for this vengeance. But, you know, now that I've killed him, nothing feels different, right? He might not get what he's looking for, but he's holding on to that. You see that he's really firmly holding on to that, that, you know, killing him is the thing he needs, right? The thing you need and the thing you want are two totally different things in a character arc, right? But yeah, you know, like I mentioned a few episodes ago as well, you know, the subconscious desire is there. It kind of, you know, leaks through every now and then. And it happened once again in this dream sequence. So, you know, he does have those thoughts of going back home, that he has family at home, that, you know, he wants to be just separated from this ugly side he's been a part of for so long. Now let me jump to Prince Canute and Thorkell for a bit. You know, now, you know, Thorkell, I mean, a madman, absolute madman or mad lad. He just loves it, doesn't he? He just absolutely loves it. And, you know, he did not take Prince Canute for the riches. No, not at all. You know, it's been firmly established that this man just lives for the battle, right? He lives for conflict, and, you know, he's been starved. He's been starved. They made that clear, you know, in the ending portion or the conclusion of the last episode and earlier in this episode as well, right? But of course, finding out that Prince Canute is here really, you know, gave him an idea, right? Now that he has Prince Canute, he almost guarantees that he's going to get that conflict he craves, right? That he's going to get a chance to be up against the main forces because it's Prince Canute, right? It is going to require, or it's going to force a reaction. You know, he's essentially the most pure warrior you're going to find out here, right? Again, that was made clear as well, that he does not fight for money. You know, Bjorn, who didn't really know Thorkell, kind of, you know, assumed, okay, yeah, he can be bought. But no, they found out soon enough they cannot be bought. You know, Floki tried, and Floki, you know, he kind of had Floki running from the scene. And again, you know, some madness on display as he's just ripping through these forces, as they essentially catch these men with their pants down, right? And of course, you know, it's clear that he has his own men following him as well, his own followers, right? And, you know, they're quite impressive as well, right? They clearly share that same, you know, love for the battle as well. You know, they clearly respect this man and they follow him for a reason. So, you know, his own men, there's that one guy, crap, I already forgot his name, but yeah, you know, there's a great moment as he's kind of in action. And again, the animation was top notch on that. And, you know, speaking of Prince Canute, he's clearly disinclined to fight, right? The pacifist stance. And you see that his men are frustrated. On one end, it is understandable because they're not used to this approach at all. They don't understand this approach. That Prince Canute is making this choice not to attack. And of course, there's that intimate moment inside his tent as the priest is delivering that one, verse. Those who take the sword, those who pick up the sword, shall perish by the sword. Something along those lines, right? So again, again establishing how important religion is, or the church is, or his beliefs are. And I'm speaking of Prince Canute. But yeah, these men that are openly questioning him, and he can hear them outside, right? And calling him a coward and all that stuff. Soon, these type of men are going to, champion Prince Canute as he transitions and becomes this iconic figure, right? Most impressive figure as he, goes towards King Canute, right? On his trajectory towards King Canute. So these are still early days. But yeah, I thought this was a phenomenal episode in terms of the setup and the trajectory for the rest of the series or the story or the season, right? Some really definitive moments happen in this episode. Certainly for Askeladd. And again, a major player, Prince Canute, has been taken by another major player, Thorkell. So, it'll be great to see how all of these pieces kind of come together. And of course, the customary comment about the score, again, continues to be just phenomenal throughout the different types of scenes, perfectly matched to the tone of each one of those scenes. And again, like I mentioned, the incredible animation, the backgrounds and the look of the anime and the imagery. There's a lot of fantastic visual storytelling going on here. It's right up there as a contender for the best looking anime I've seen, right? Or watched so far. It's right up there. It's certainly a contender for sure, right? It could go toe to toe with any of them, the ones I've seen so far. It's better than most, actually. It's top 2 easily. And, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of really quiet moments throughout that reaction. And, it kind of made me forget that I was sitting in front of a camera, right? I was really just taking in the episode itself. And there was a lot to take in, right? You can't just manufacture a reaction when there isn't a need for a reaction. Sometimes you just kind of have to, be in the moment and take all the information in. And yeah, there's a lot of quiet moments, but that's not indicative of the episode itself. The episode is a phenomenal episode. There's a lot of really fascinating things at play here, right? But yeah, I think that's about it for this episode. If you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you're interested in full length or maybe even early access to the next episode right now, consider checking out the link in the description or the pinned comment to patreon.com. Right then, that's about it for this one. I'm really quite excited to see the fallout of this episode or the continuation of the setup in this episode. So yeah, really excited for the next time I record an episode for this anime, this phenomenal anime. So yeah, thank you for joining me and thank you for your time. And I hope to see you again soon for the next one. So until then, take it easy.